Hello everybody, welcome to the Erbekees experience. I am Jody Erbe, owner of Erbekees-Keeshonden. I'm joined today with my co-host Melanie Strong.
Hi everybody. You can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and on YouTube on Jody's channel, Erbekees-Keeshonden. You can find links to all social media to include this podcast on Jody's website, www.erbekees.com. Again, that is www.erbekees.com.
Thank you, Melanie. Today we are discussing a day in the life of Erbekees. I thought maybe it would be kind of interesting for people, to kind of know what a day is like for me, and just maybe even possibly people who are thinking about becoming breeders, what to kind of be prepared for and what that looks like, because this is not your typical 8 to 5.
No,
you
never leave.
You don't. It's constant. I don't have a benefit package. I don't have health insurance. I don't have paid days off. I don't have vacation days. I don't have things like that. So, I've had people in the past, coming to me, as new young breeders, whether it be this breeder or other breeds. And I think, I don't know, maybe some people will be interested in it. To start, I think one of the biggest things to really stress is that this is a 24/7, 365 days a year kind of job. You don't really, you can't call in sick. You have to do what you have to do, especially, I could kind of get a little lazier if it's just the adults, but when you have puppies, man, you can't just shut that door.
It's a mess.
It's constant. Yeah. I mean, you have to be on it. You have to get up. You have to do this all day long. You have to work so many other things into this schedule, not just, our own family things, holidays, visits, doctor appointments, going to the store. I mean, you have no freedom. I think that's really important for people who might be considering breeding. It's a lot to get used to. Of course, I've been doing this forever, and I kind of have a flow. I know when to do things and when not to do things, and it gets easier as time goes by.
You said you have to plan even to go to the store.
Yeah.
You have to plan that around different things. So how many deliveries do you get to your house a week?
Well, really, like from UPS kind of deliveries or puppies? Oh.
No, to your door, things that you order instead of taking the time, like me, if I need something, I'll just, just go into the store and get it,
well,
right?
That's funny, because, have you seen the reel where somebody's walking by with a broom on the ceiling and they're carrying, 5 packages and trying to distract the husband? That's me. I mean, I am, and we joke about this because you've had several of these phone calls. You've been around for several of these phone calls. My credit card, my debit card through Redstone, my business account, flags me all the time, because I will order 3 or 4 times on Amazon in a day, and they'll flag me as fraud, because who does that? And I'm like, hello, I'm a business, I'm ordering stuff. Oh my gosh. I mean, in a week, if there's not a delivery every day, that's kind of unusual usually. And it may just be a little $20 thing, but I'm always going out there in the kennel and oh crap, I need that. Oh crap, I need that. I need puppy collars. I need this. So yeah, too much. Too much.
It just kind of goes with the, like that.
Yeah.
Something, I need that.
Yeah.
I'll just run and get it.
And kind of thank God for that now. Because back in the day, you didn't have that. You had to go to the store. And it's like, if I had to go to the store, even if I made a list, the things I would need would be in Huntsville or Nashville. So you're talking an hour drive one way. So, now it's just such a luxury to be able to you know, I was running late this morning on doing different things, and I put in my Walmart order, and it'll be here at 3:00. It's like, you know, I don't have time to go to Walmart, you know, really, I mean, and for me to plan that, going back into planning, you know, for me, whether it's a trip to Franklin to go to the Sam's Club or Costco's, you know, before I leave, I have to plan out how long I'm going to be gone. What am I all doing while I'm there? You know, I know it's an hour there, an hour back, an hour in the store. How many stores am I going to? So that means before I leave, I have to prepare my dogs. So the dogs all have to go out. They all have to go potty. I have to make my round. I have to clean. I have to make sure they all have food and water, you know, in the mama's side. And, you know, it's not like just put your coat on and go to the store. You know, it's a 30, 40-minute process just to get out the door. And then once you leave, you know, you're looking at your clock. It's like, I've got 4 hours and my mamas are going to have to go potty, you know? So it's, you know, it's kind of exhausting and overwhelming at times. You know, it's funny because, like, for the longest time, I probably went 30 years of my life with, I just never drank. And now it's like, you know, I just look forward to that. And for real, we sit down in the evenings for maybe 30 minutes and watch a show, you know, and have a glass of wine and we go to bed. We're exhausted. We don't, you know, and, you know, our schedule, you know, we wake up 5 to 6 a.m., you know, whenever we get up, whatever time that is. I've been really fortunate here. Gosh, I don't even know how long my husband does the morning, let the dogs out. And I do the mamas, and, you know, and that's only because of my surgery. You know, I haven't been able, you know, I'm still I kind of jumped into things too soon. So it's this rehab, this, you recovery, that's the word I was looking for. Thank you. It's taken a lot longer than I thought, but yeah, you know, our day starts first thing in the morning. You know, we have the dogs, we have the cows, we have the chickens, we have to get everybody organized. And then we get our coffee, you know, it's like do all that first and, you know, get him off to work and it's like, boom, you know, it's just there. You know, the kennel's a mess, it's filthy, you have to clean, you know, you know, on a good day, it's probably an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on what all needs to be done and how many puppies are out there. Of course, right now it's crazy because we have, 6 litters? How many litters? I don't know. 7 litters, I think. 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we have 7 litters out there. Of course, 2 of them are all gone this week, so that's going to be
starts
like
to quiet down a little bit again.
And you wouldn't even think, but that's just one litter going because that 8 weeks they're just insane. I mean, you've seen from the videos. It's just between the noise and the mess, it's crazy. But yeah, so you know, and that you know, again, it just really depends on what's going out in there. But if everything's going well and it's a quick, easy clean, you know, you're still looking at an hour and a half. You got to do the inside, you got to do the outside kennels. You know, you got to move puppies from inside to outside. This weekend, I need to video. I bought me the cutest little wagon. Because I've had such a hard time, you know, bending over has been a big one for me since the hip surgery, but bending over and picking up those puppies is so hard, and then carrying them is even harder. So I bought this little wagon, so I go and I pick up the puppies and I put them in this little wagon, so I bring them from the inside to the outside kennels, and I really need to video because it's adorable. You know, they're all sticking their heads out trying to figure out how to get out of there, but, you know, that was just like one little thing that's new that's made my life so much easier. And it's weird because as this, I mean, you know, again, 20 years here, every little, you know, it's so funny because like that one little thing just made my life so much easier. It's like, why didn't I do this 10 years ago?
Right.
You know, I'm fighting with puppies. They're all jumping over. They're running all over. You know, I usually just open the door and we go. But it's like a 15-minute process. You try to keep 8 puppies in a line, it's not going to happen. And, you know, when I'm in good shape and I can just bend and grab them and move on, that's one thing, but I can't do that now. So, you know, it's just funny because, you know, going through this for so many years, you know, even like the kennel now, you know, my setup is 50 times better than what I had before we moved, you know, and every time we move, I make all these changes because I realize,
we could do this better.
Right.
Yeah.
And even now, there's so many things about that kennel that I wish I did different, you know. It's just crazy, but yeah, it's certainly been a process getting through all this, you know, year after year. But yeah, again, back to the day, you know, the morning cleaning's huge. That's, you know, that's step one, you know, get all the puppies situated, get all that done. I usually take maybe a 15-minute break in between, grab a cup of coffee and go sit at my computer, which sometimes that turns into 2 hours, you know. Then that's when I usually do my emails. You know, it's really kind of, well, I'd say in a week, on average, I can get anywhere from 5 to 50 inquiries. I have a lot, like I said, for every puppy I sell, I probably talk to 10 to 20 people. So I'm always, you know, getting those emails. You know, I had a phone call yesterday. It was crazy. I was in here just walking through and my phone rang and I answered it, and it was a lady who had been watching my site for a long time, and I think she was actually trying to find puppies, you know, maybe a little bit cheaper. I'm not sure, but she was like, I'm just done with that. She had 3 different people trying to scam her. And she was like, I'm just going with you, because she knew I was the real deal. I'm a real person and all that stuff. But yeah, so the phone calls, the emails, you know, on average, I mean, for real, I would say minimum from a week, Sunday to Sunday, you're looking at 20 plus hours on the computer. And that's
just for emails right?
So that would be new inquiries, that would be clients asking me questions, clients calling me, you know, scheduling phone calls and stuff. I usually ask most of my people to schedule with me, which is really helpful because of my schedule. And I don't carry my phone like most. I know everybody else is attached to their phone 24/7. I don't do that. You know, when I'm out there cleaning, I can't be bothered. Not that it's a bother, but you know what I can't stop what I'm doing. I guess it's better to say than be bothered, because I'm not bothered. But you know, if I've got puppies coming and going, I just can't stop. So so I just don't bring my phone for that reason, because I don't want the distraction. But yeah, 20 plus hours. I mean, I could spend easy. I mean, I have clients send me questions that are like, you know, 10 paragraphs, and they're not small paragraphs. So, you know, if I have to go through on each point and answer those, you know, I could spend, and I'm not real fast anyway. So, as far as typing and all that, but, so I can spend an hour and a half on one email easy. So, yeah, a lot of my time is sitting at that computer answering emails.
So that's why I asked about, okay, so that's just for emails, because you also sit at the computer to post and edit and do all your social media stuff. So that's probably another, 10 to 15
oh my gosh,
hours
I don't even know
maybe?
man, yeah. And it's funny because I fought this for so long. I just, not only I'm a pretty private person. I don't, you know, I deal with a lot of criticism, and, you know, sometimes that just gets hard mentally, emotionally, and all that other stuff. So I didn't really want to dive into that, because I didn't want to deal with the negativity that comes with it. So I really put off the social media for a long time, until Facebook was like, oh, hey, you're monetized. And I thought, well, okay. I'm gonna give it a shot. And, you know, it's funny because I think, you know, I think last month I made $20 and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you know, just the podcast, you know. So you figure our podcasts are running an hour to an hour and 20 minutes. Okay, so we have that pocket. So we've got the 30 minutes before and the 30 minutes after. We're talking, discussing, going over things, because y'all, we're not really planning this. This is like, we're pulling this out our ass every day. I'm like, this morning I woke up, I was like, oh crap, I need a topic. What are we going to talk about? And we're kind of shooting ideas back and forth. But these things, like, we're sitting here just talking. We don't have, well, we have a couple notes this time, but typically we just sit down and say, okay, let's go. It's go time. Here we go. So, you know, besides that, you know, before and after, where half the time it's just us personal stuff anyway. But so yeah, you have that, and then you have to turn around and edit this podcast now, which I think the first couple I didn't even do. I just put them up and that was that. But now I'm learning how to work the software. through my host site or whatever you want to call it. So I'm trying to make sure all the words are spelled right, and of course they can never spell Erbekees or Erby or Keeshonden, so you have to go through and edit all that. So that's, obviously if it's an hour and 20-minute podcast, it's an hour and 50 minutes to edit it. So yeah, we have that now. The videos, to get a good video that I can post where, even if you see a 30-second video, that may be the 5th one I've done that day. The first 3, all the puppies may have decided to take a poop, right. 10 seconds into anything like that. And of course, I'm not going to post that because I can imagine the comments. But, so yeah, I mean, the social media aspect of this has been just insane. And, immediately after, what is that one? It's on Anchorman. He jumps into the pit with an animal or something. He's like, I immediately regret this decision. I'm like, that's kind of me, because it's like, I just jump into these things and I think, okay, let's do this. And then I don't think about the time and where am I going to come up with this, because you only get so many hours a day, and you have to, if you're adding 3 hours of social media into your day, something else has got to go, or, you're cutting into family time, or you're getting up early or staying up later or something like that. So yeah, social media has been really a challenge for me because of so many things. The time is the biggest. It's so hard for me to find that. But it's kind of a double-edged sword, because like the podcast, even though, we're doing this for free. I mean, well, I pay you, but you know what I'm saying? There's no big reward in it for me, but financially, but I think it's probably one of the most important things I've done to date. I think it's most, it kind of fits with the times. This is how people do stuff. They listen to social media, they listen to podcasts. It's an easy way. You can get your information from me on the drive to work. You can listen to these podcasts and get different information, and everybody knows, over the years, the biggest thing that I've learned and the biggest takeaway for me for Erbekees as far as the growth and the success has been my interaction with my clients. So, this is like the ultimate way to connect with a lot of my clients and give them the knowledge and give them the opportunities to learn from me and take it or not. I mean, that's the cool thing about everything, with social media. If you don't like it, keep scrolling.
Right.
If you don't like my podcast, don't listen. But if you get one thing from my podcast, I've done all these hours, that's a success. That's a win for me. So, and I've kind of done my whole business like that, and I feel that's why I am so successful. That's why I have hundreds of people that, appreciate what I do and respect what I do. I have hundreds that don't, but that's
I feel
okay.
like no matter what you do, it's going to be that way.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the hardest things, because I watch a couple different people that, as far as inspiring people or, just learning how to deal with everyday things, you watch people, just like, I watch Jelly Roll and Bunny, I think they're such an inspiration to come from, that and work your way up. And some of the things that, Bunny XO puts on her shows, it's like the things she deals with haters and stuff. And it's like so parallel. It's like, of course, we're in totally different worlds and, that kind of thing. But we deal with the same things. When anybody with any kind of success, you have haters.
Yeah.
And, that's a big part of my everyday life. Once you get successful at this, I have all the green eyes staring at me, dogging me behind the scenes, and for some people, they can't get past that. They're not strong enough. They're not, I don't know what it is, but some people would just crumble up and die. Like, oh my gosh, they don't like me. And I just keep laughing and just like, y'all keep it coming, because it just inspires me to be better, and with me wanting to be better brings more success. because people know I'm doing this for the right reasons. I'm not doing, obviously this isn't about money. Everybody says, oh, you're all about money. I'm like, look at my taxes. I'll call bullshit on that. But it's just one of those things. Yeah, all these things. I mean, especially the social media, the time, and for me, it's all new. It's a learning curve. So, for everything we do, I'm trying to figure out, how do I promote my podcast? How do I, do I need an SEO service? That's what I'm working on this week. Do I need to hire somebody to do that stuff? Because I feel like I do. How's the average person going to find my podcast? So. This brings a whole new thing, even on Facebook. Like, how do I, what's better? Post a picture, post a reel, comments, things like that. And if anybody knows, please leave a comment.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, how do you grow this stuff? I don't know. If anybody is good at that, please leave me a comment somewhere. And, I would love the information. I had actually a client, not really a client, but somebody contacted me the other day about the podcast, and she was like, if you ever need any help, and yeah, she got an email this morning, please help. But yeah, I mean, it's, my day is just insane, half the time, of course I stop for lunch and, the obvious things, but in general, this isn't a sit on the couch kind of thing. It's just go, go, go.
Right.
And
so when you have, just like that, we're talking about your schedule, and when you have pickups that come here to the house. You just had one this morning.
Yep.
When I got here to work, you were sitting on the porch,
drinking my coffee,
and playing with a puppy. I'm like, oh,
right.
That's awesome. But you're sitting there going, yeah, I could be doing this and this and this.
It's funny because those moments are the best moments, because you get that break, and I can just sit there. Like I said, if I have a schedule picked up at 9, I'm out there at 8:30 just waiting in case they come early, whatever. If they're late, whatever. Because most of the time people are traveling, and I know things happen. But so, I get my cup of coffee and I'm just sitting there, and, it's kind of my chill out moments, because I don't get a lot of them. But, and even that, preparing for that, it's that morning, it's getting up extra early and getting that puppy a bath, doing the puppy's nails, grooming the puppy, getting it all ready, drying it off, brushing it out, all that stuff. So, those things. And of course, I've got another one coming at 2. So I have 2 puppies to get ready. One's halfway done out in the kennel, and the other one's, of course, picked up. But, it's a whole process. And then going to before pickup, getting the binders, you get a little swag bag from Erbekees. I've got a little backpack that you get full with your binder, some other things that I'm not going to mention, because my little swag bags are kind of my thing, and I don't want copycats. But you get several things in that little backpack. It's everything has my logo on it. My binders have my logo. So it's been something that I've kind of customized over the years. So getting those ready, just my binders, is like, it's probably 5 hours. I mean, if I was just to sit down and get a litter of bags ready, it's probably about 5 hours, because I got to prepare my binders, I got to do all my logos, put them on there, I've got to print everything out from all the stuff that I print that I'm going to keep secret. But printing that out is forever, and then I put everything in the plastic sheet things so everything stays clean and nice, and I give copies of everything, the vet visits, the microchip information, that kind of stuff is just general. It's in there. There's several things in there. So I'm printing for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then you got to sort that all, and then you got to put it all in the plastic paper protectors, and then you got to put it in the binder, and then you got to, you got to put copies of our contracts in there. So just that whole thing, getting all the meds done. I always send a round of meds with my puppies when they leave here, just a dewormer. But, all that stuff, preparing for that. It's almost a day's work for each litter, And
that's you do that at the end, like right before they're getting ready to leave. And So scheduling those deliveries and stuff, that starts literally right after they're born.
Right when they're born, yeah. Especially for the people that have obviously deposited in our waiting, which anymore, if I have a litter of 8, typically, close to half of them are sold, and then the other ones are free, to be sold throughout the next 8 weeks. But yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I do. There was something I was going to add to that, but I'm like, it just went blank. It's gone. But anyway, so yeah, it's there's so much that goes into that. I mean, it's like everything I do is a production.
Yeah.
It can't just be easy. I mean, you see, coming and going. You've been in, you've been part of deliveries, so you've got kind of a glimpse of everything. You know how it is with the moms coming and going, the preparation just to bring a mom over here. The moms. They have to be groomed, they have to be pampered and everything before they come to the nursery. Everything's a preparation here.
And then they're over here for 8 to 10 weeks. So when they come back, then they get a whole new
spa day.
A whole new spa day. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, it's so funny because, to just like. So I'm going to turn 60 this year. This is my big 60th, and I'm reevaluating life. It's like, am I going to retire? Like, what am I going to do? Because I think about it, I'm thinking, of course, a lot of you who know me know my husband's 10 years younger than me, so he still has 10 plus more years to work, obviously. And it's like, what does that leave me? What does that look like for me? Do I stop breeding and just kind of chill out for, even if I breed for 5 more years, that leaves me 5 years of doing kind of nothing while he's preparing for retirement. So, I go back and forth, and I think, if I were to find somebody that wanted to take over my kennel and start that whole thing, it's like, how does a new person walk into this?
Right.
I mean, to me, it would be so overwhelming because
I don't think it couldn't. I don't think it could be someone who doesn't have a history with it.
You would think, yeah, it would be hard to have, of course, I always think of duplicating what I do, but everybody would put their own spin on it. I have the benefit of, everything about this I know inside and out. I know the dogs, I know the process, I know that, you can't do this for 20 years and not know. I mean, I guess you could. I don't know, but I can't. I mean, there's so many things about being a breeder on this level now. If you're talking about just getting into breeding and having a litter once a year, or even 2 or 3 a year, that's different. You have 3 or 4 dogs, but we're at 19 dogs, and there's so much that goes. Well, just keeping track. That's another thing we do. Record keeping.
Yeah.
People don't even, like, you came in this morning and you're like, Kevy's in heat. I'm like, okay, I run to my computer. I got to document that. I got to write it. I got to pull up her file. I got to put it in here. Today's date. She's in heat. Look at last time. Think about all that stuff. Is she going to be bred? Is she not going to be bred? If she's going to be bred, when do we do that? Let's get to the calendar. This was all on the spot. Miss Melanie comes in and just takes over my morning. It's like, okay, I'll do that right now, because if I don't, I'm going to forget.
Right.
So, that's a process. I have a folder for each dog, and I write down everything, when they heat, how long has it been since their last heat? Did they have puppies last time? How many puppies did they have? Was everything good? Were there any issues? Did you have any murmurs? Did you have any underbites? All those things. Who did they breed to? Who do they mostly breed to? How does that look? There's so many things that people don't even think about, that just on the spot, on the fly, you just got to pick that up and run with it, because if you don't, you're not going to be successful. If I forget she's in heat, and you're
going to miss one.
I'm going to miss one, then you're waiting another 6 to 12 months for another heat, and and it's like, and I'm thinking, okay, well, crap, today's Monday, nobody checked her over the weekend. Did he start yesterday? Did it start Saturday? So I'm like, well, screw it. I'm going back to Saturday because we don't know. There's that empty blank spot. So let's just start count from Saturday, because I know you checked on Friday. So, so, you know, and it's all these things, and it's knowing to do that, you know. How do you, you know, for me, learning, you know, for me, if I don't catch those girls on day one, I don't know where to start counting, you know. So if it's been a week we've been in the kennel and we go in there and somebody's in heat, I'm like, well, a week is a big gap. You can't have that. You know, you don't know unless you progesterone test, which I don't do because I know my dogs well enough. I'm on mark most of the time. I hardly ever, unless the girls are having some kind of hormonal thing, you know, I hardly ever miss a breeding because I just know my girls. You know, I know, like, I'll start counting from Saturday and I'll know when to start breeding her and how long to breed her. So, you know, and those are all things that you just learn over the years. And that's why I say again, if and this is just hypothetical, if I was going to sell Erbekees in 5 years and have somebody that really loved the breed, and even somebody that's been with the breed for a long time, there's so many, again, layers. There's so many layers that I would think I would have to mentor that person for like a year to really get them, if I wanted Erbekees to continue to my standards. I would really have to mentor somebody for so long, because there's so many things that you don't even like us with these podcasts, you know, we'll go over a topic and we'll be like, oh, we could go back to that and do 3 more podcasts because there were so many things we didn't say, you know. And it's even, you know, even with us, you know, you coming into this and like just dumb things. I know I probably repeated myself on many things, like, oh, if you do this, it's easier, or if you use the stuff.
I actually used it on Kaija.
I know.
I used it on Kaija this time.
And
well,
that's the only thing I have to pick on you for. I know. So I'm going to use it. So.
Well, I did it when she was wet and right out of the bath.
Yes.
Where I used it. All right. But I just don't like using it like putting it right on them when they're all dirty.
Dry and dirty. Yeah, I love it with the bath when they're still wet, because you kind of work it in and then just put them away and let them dry naturally, and then
with the blower. Oh my gosh.
Right? See? Okay, there you go. All right. I'm glad.
But only after a bath.
I love the stuff. I don't care. I'll take it. Yep. And
I'll take it.
What does it matter to me? You're the one grooming. Right? I don't care what you do, really. I just think it's one of those. It's a success story. I think it just makes your life easier. You know. That's why I always give you a hard time.
Yeah. For some of them, like Kaija, she's very thick. She's got that really thick,
coarse, big.
Oh my gosh, she's not like super coarse. It's just she has a lot of hair. She's got that great big lion's mane.
Oh, she does.
She was right there.
Right? She's gorgeous. She's definitely one of my favorites right now. She's so pretty. But yeah, again, back to that whole thing, you know, bringing somebody in. There's so many layers in my story. I mean, I don't know what other breeders do, you know, and I don't think there's, you know, I don't know how many breeders, at least in the Keeshond world, do it at this level. I know there's, you know, I know of one, you know, on the East Coast. She's been doing the dogs probably a few years longer than I have, and she has a lot of dogs. Of course, I've known of a couple show kennels that have huge, I mean, they put me to shame. You know, they'll have just a crazy amount of dogs. But, you know, at this level, there's just so much that goes into a day. I mean, just a day. I mean, you know, again, I start at 6 a.m., you know, and we wrap it up. We do go to bed early. I've got to say that. Usually, for sure, by 10 o'clock. I mean, if we're up to 9:30, that's a big night.
Party night.
It's a party night. It's like a 2 glass of wine night, or something really good on TV, or we missed an episode of something that we watch and we're watching back to back or something. You know, we don't start early. We just stay late because, you know, the evenings, like, again, you know, I'm doing this dog stuff all day long. I'm in and out of the kennels. I'm cleaning throughout the day. You know, I've got all my puppies outside during the day now, so I'm cleaning those kennels during the day, and the inside. So, you know, there's a lot. And then, of course, you know, we still have to eat dinner, and you prepare your dinner, and then after dinner, you know, I'm bringing all the puppies back in. I'm doing everything in reverse. You know, my kennels are clean inside, but they come back in. You know, I'm carting them back and forth. I've got all the kennels outside that I now have to clean because it has to be ready for 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. They have to dry and everything. Not that they dry, the puppies run in and out of the water bowl all day, and every time you go out there, everything's soaking wet anyway. But yeah, so I'm stripping those kennels. I'm bleaching those kennels. I'm out there with a mop and bucket and, you know, scooping up poop and just cleaning everything, hosing it down, you know, brushing out those low spots because it holds water in like 3 or 4 places. But, you know, it's you know, and it's 8:30 by the time I come in, usually at least 8, you know, and what we call end of the day. You know, I'll put the moms outside and come in and kind of relax for 30 minutes or something, and then we go back and put everybody up for the night. You know, John's been doing my night chores for the adults. He brings them all into the kennel and puts them in their crates and locks up at the end of the day while I'm doing all this other stuff outside. So, you know, and then we, you know, if we're going to step out a little bit, we'll take another 30 minutes and just sit on the couch and chill. And yeah, that's like, I mean, it's just, and then, yeah, let's do it again tomorrow.
Yeah. It's every day.
It's every day.
It's
you
every
know,
day, bro.
You don't get that sleep in Saturday morning or Sunday morning. You don't get that. You don't get that ever, ever. I mean, if we sleep till 6:15, it's like a good day. I mean, you just don't get that. I mean, you know, you have to let the dogs out. I mean, it's, you just don't have that luxury. And I think that was probably one of the hardest things as you kind of roll up on these, you know, over the years. In the beginning, you know, when you have 1 or 2 dogs, it's not really that big of a deal. You know, and they were in the house, so it wasn't as strict as it is now. You know, you had a little bit more freedom. But as the dogs kept growing, and it's like, you know, it's funny, you know, in the beginning, I was like, I remember the first time I bought, who was it? Kina. She was from Russia. And it was so funny because we were in, you know, all the dogs were in the house, and I think I had 4 or 5 at the time. And I was like, you know, I didn't want to tell John. It was like, I'm buying a dog from Russia. And he's, you know, finally break down and tell him like the week before or something. It's like, you know, he's going nuts. Like, no, not another dog. What is, you know, how are we ever going to do anything? But yeah, I mean, you know, as it just kept growing and growing, and it's like, at one point it was just like, well, if we're going to see our family, we're going to have to take separate vacations. Somebody has to stay and take care of the dogs, and the other one goes. And we hated that. You know, we just really hated that. I mean, it was, you know, you lose that family unity. Like, you know, we're real big. You know, we still have dinner every day at the kitchen, at the dining room table, 5 o'clock. Our family, whoever's in the house, is eating dinner together. You know, that's just tradition. That's, you know, you see so many families that we're talking about on the radio on how their families, like, one eats one place with their phone, one eats another, the kids are in their room.
No
I'm like,
phones.
no, like, that's what's, you know, we still have that family unity. We still sit together and eat dinner together every night, 5, 6 o'clock. And, you know, that's, those things are important to me. So when we had to make the decision to where we're doing things separate, it just kind of really sucked. But, you know, you kind of learn to live with it, you know. You know, back then, even on the Big B, well, it wasn't until here that I really broke down and said, I'm going to expand, but with that comes employees. You know, I can't do this by myself anymore. But, you know, and it wasn't until that point, what was that, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, it was up to that point where we didn't, my daughter never knew what a family vacation was. We never had it. We never had it. We never went to Disney. We never did the things. We didn't go to the beach. You know, we didn't do that. It wasn't even in a thought. It was just, no, we can't. Now it's, I have a, different setup with being this big. We do have the employees, and that's been a godsend for us because, for the past 5 years now, we get that elk hunt. We get a family vacation. We took our daughter to Vegas for her 21st birthday. It was only 3 days, but we went, so, that's been one of the things, that has been the best thing that's happened for us in 20 years, being able to have just those moments, be it a 3-day weekend or a 2-week vacation once a year, and be able to walk away and trust people to walk away.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's a whole nother thing. If you don't have good employees,
still can't.
You can't. You have to, man. I've never been a micromanager in all my management years, because I have held jobs, obviously, besides this. But, if you don't have good employees, you can't do that. And now I'm just, I would walk away with you. I would walk away with Josh, and of course I do.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I trust you guys immensely, and you haven't even been here that long. So, I can't ever get we're over here crying. I can see it already. We're all like, but seriously, no. You don't realize how much you positively impact my life as much as you do. Josh is the same way. Without you guys, you can't. You have to have those breaks, man. It gets so hard. It gets so overwhelming. It's like, like you said, you start looking at my hours, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. and you're doing, 20 hours on emails on just client, inquiries. Some weeks it's less, some weeks it's double.
Mm-hmm.
There's some weeks I can wake up and have 10 inquiries. I've literally sold, I want to say seven puppies in one day, which means 70 different people, seven, going, and it's not just, oh, I'm buying a puppy, it's questions, answering back and forth, and of course some of these people in that one day have been a build up for several days with questions and stuff, but there's days it just blows up. I've got people coming and going, I've got puppies coming and going, I've got people calling me, I've got emails, and you start adding that up in a week, and some weeks are just, it's exhausting. So that's one of the things that if people ever consider being a breeder on this level, this is so far from a 9 to 5.
It's not for the weak
or
the timid.
Weak. It isn't. You have to have a drive. You have to have a passion.
Yeah.
That's for me. This is, again, going back to the haters that, people are, you're in it for this, you're in it for that, you're stupid, you're whatever. I'm like, y'all just don't know. It's like, what I do is like, this is
the dedication
yeah.
that it takes to do the things that you do is seriously impressive.
Well, thank you. It's just the love. Like I said, I started out just some dipshit in Arkansas who found a puppy in a puppy store, and I just oodled over this dog for years. Like, this dog was life-changing for me. It was the companion to my children. It was so many things for me. And of course, I didn't even know what it was when I bought it, and that's the funny thing. And I didn't care, it was, like I said, I don't even remember. It was at least a year or two after I had this dog before I really started doing the dive into what is a Keeshond, right?
Yeah.
Digging up those papers and being like, what, like, there's got to be a book on it or something, back then we didn't have the computer. So, and learning about the breed, and then getting another one, and then learning, and like getting another one. And it was like, they're all the same. It's like, even though I had some of the worst dogs in the beginning, as far as, if you're going to look at quality and health testing, no, none of that. They were just you can still go on Puppy Find today and buy a $500 caisson. That's what I had. I didn't know any different. And then when I did know and try to reach out to those people, I had only negative experiences. So I never knew the other side of the caisson until, 10 years into this, I didn't even know. And then when I saw them on the dog shows, I was like, oh, how do I do that? Because that's what I wanted. And I had every door I knocked on was slammed in my face. Every door. And I was like, I'm next.
Oh,
next.
Watch me spiral.
Exactly. And I was like, I was just like, I don't care what I have to do. I'm doing this. And then it was funny because, that spiraled me off into, at that point is where I started learning about health testing. And I'm like, oh, I need this. Like, this is even better. Why did I not know about this 10 years ago? And it was just, and you gotta give props to our generation with knowledge at our hand. That's what spiraled me forward is having the ability, when you have that computer and you could sit on there for 5 hours and just read about the caisson, and you could see pictures of other breeders' dogs and just like admire from afar, even though they all hated me, I have nothing but admiration for them because those dogs are gorgeous, But so yeah, it's just been so crazy over the years how this is just built. That's why I say, for people walking into something like this, it would be really hard because I feel like all of that has been my foundation. It just I've went from a 2-foot foundation to a 40-foot at this point. I'm so invested in this, and you talk about a passion, which is kind of crazy because some days it's like it's so not a passion. I feel like,
why am I doing this?
I do. It's so overwhelming.
And then you sit on the porch with that puppy and you
like,
see the love and the joy that people have. And you go, that's why.
So crazy. It's just, it's humbling. And it's like truly, there's very few things in my life that I feel have humbled me, but this is one of them. And that's, I think, what just really inspires my passion because, so many of these things that I do, there's no paycheck. There's no reason for me to do a podcast. I don't have to do this to sell puppies. I don't have to. My reputation does that on its own. But again, I want to engage people. I want to educate people. I want them to know about this breed because, man, if you're a new couple and you're planning to have kids or whatever that is, if you're an older retired couple, whatever your situation is, you need a caisson.
They just are like little chameleons. It doesn't matter.
Right?
If you are a couch potato or if you are a mountain man. Like,
they're perfect.
Same dog
would
fit into.
And the minute they walk out that door and go into their new homes, it's like they just morph into this new life. Yeah. And it's been like, it blows my mind. And that's why I say I've had nothing but a caisson for over 30 years. And I can't imagine. I look at people buying a new puppy and I'm like, you're stupid. Why would you buy that? Like, do you even know about a caisson? Like, for real, I joke about this, but it's like for real. I mean, that's.
I have been working with dogs for quite a while, and I had never heard of a caisson.
Right? Most people haven't.
Like,
they have no idea. And
then I found pictures of my grandmother working with one from 1964, and I thought that was one of the coolest pictures. I was like,
that is bizarre. that when you showed me that was like, you come in here, like you said, you weren't even looking for a job.
Yeah.
When you saw my post for this job, and it's like, this is my life. It is, I don't like to get into all the, certainly religion or anything like that, but it's so profound how everything in my life seems to have a purpose, and I have nothing to do with that purpose. It's just like it's programmed. It's just all there. Like even my puppies, where they go, why they go, how they go. Some of the stories, I think we've talked about a couple of them in story times. It's like there's nothing that explains anything, but you have to call it destiny, call it fate. I don't know what else. I'm sure you can call it several different things, but it's just weird, and that's just kind of what's constantly keeps me moving forward, because I don't know that there's anything in my life that I'm supposed to do besides this.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like I just, this is what I need to do, and you don't find that in people a lot. You don't, I don't like to, obviously these things I talk about myself all day long, but typically I don't, it's not like I'm a type of person that likes to brag or anything like that, but like I'm so proud of where this has taken me, my journey in this. I mean, it's just surreal, the things that have come into my life through breeding the Keeshond, good and bad, way more good. I know I touch on the bad because I think people, that's a lot of it I just want to dig. I'm not going to deny that. I like to, try to point out to people that being on that hateful side is not a good option. You get such a bigger reward, with kindness and positive and help and mentoring and guidance and education. You get so much more positive things in your life when you promote that versus, oh, she's stupid, she's a puppy mill, look at her dog. I mean, even now looking at other breeders, there's a few that I just despise because they are just dishonest, and they're show breeders and they have breeder of merit, and I think that's just, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for, but I just think I don't like dishonesty. I like, my father, growing up, it was like, a handshake. That's all you had. We didn't have money. We weren't rich. My father had his handshake. And that's all he needed. People knew he was an honest man and you could trust him. And that kind of, even though that was never told to me, it's just my takeaway as growing up, that was always important to me.
You see it.
Yeah. I don't believe in lying to people. I don't believe in misleading them. I'm not going to tell you I health tested and then post a litter that aren't health tested. You go to my website, you see every one of my dogs, you see every one of their testing, and as long as they're two and cleared, if they're in the middle of having puppies or something, maybe not, but they all have a chick number. If they're not, they're gonna within 2-3 months. I think that's important, and again, a huge part of my success, because I think you hear it over and over in my reviews, what people say about me. She's honest. You may not like what I say, but
Right.
And you don't find that with people a lot,
Some would say brutally honest. At
Yeah,
times.
I am brutally honest, and I don't, and again, a lot of people take me wrong, but I'm the first one to have your back, man.
Yeah, no malintent is
never,
ever present.
No,
ever.
I may tell you you're doing something stupid, but I'll tell you I probably do the stupid thing too. So call me stupid, and I'm fine with that. I know I'm stupid. We laugh all day long. After these podcasts, it's like, oh my God, that was stupid, Jody. And I'm fine with that. It's like, okay, well, next time, maybe we won't be as stupid, because that's the only way you move forward is knowing you're doing something stupid and fixing it.
And learning from it. Yes.
Right? And I probably have a poor choice of words, or, maybe I present it wrong or whatever, because a lot of people take me wrong and they just walk away crying. And, that's not ever my intent. I'm not here to pick on people. I'm here to help people. And I do all this, again, in a day in the life of Erbekees, because it's important to me. I want, not just for you, but, my bottom line is my puppies, if my puppy goes to somebody that's a not so good leader, you know, that's my puppy's going to be emotionally messed up, and I've gotten them back, you know. So that's my goal for the people, and you know, I'm not going to say you're stupid. I'm going to say you're uneducated. You know, you're ignorant. You don't know how to do these things. So hey, you know, maybe just call me and talk to me, and I'll walk you through that. You know, and again, that's just my passion for what I do. It's important to me to be there for those people. So, you know, again, you know, I'm over 1,000 puppies in my career of being a professional breeder. So I have over 1,000 clients. I help probably over 20,000 people that I've talked to in this 20 years. And all those people, you know, I can't say all of them, but a lot of those people from time to time are still, again, the emails, the phone calls, the questions, the this, the that. I'm engaged. I'm committed to that. And that's huge. And if, you know, to me, that's my responsibility as a breeder. You know, those puppies, yes, I signed them over to you, but they're always mine. They were mine first.
A lifetime guarantee.
It is, you know, and I always say I'm your support from birth to bridge. And you know how many people come to me and they're like, and this is again a double-edged sword, because people come to me and they're like, well, I bought this puppy and this, and they'll you know, a 5-page email, and I'll be like, where's your breeder? Well, you know, we only paid $500. You know, he doesn't really answer my calls, or she doesn't answer my call. I'm like, well, why is this now my responsibility? You know, you know, and I've told a lot of people, you know, at some point I've just got to call it. You know, it's like, you didn't want to buy you contacted me, but you didn't want to buy a puppy from me. So why are you contacting me now? This isn't my responsibility. You know, at some point I have to say enough is enough. If you wanted my service and you knew I did this and you wanted this, you should have bought a puppy from me. You know, I'm not going to talk about somebody else's dogs. I don't know anything about their dogs. I don't know their temperaments. I don't know anything about that puppy. You know, at least my puppies, I kind of know.
You can definitely make an educated guess on, well, this is probably the personality type that you have. And this would try this. This would probably work better in this situation, whatever it is.
Exactly.
Because you know the dogs. You know their parents. You know their grandparents. And their grandparents.
In some cases, their grandparents and their grandparents. So, you know, I mean, you know, so that's kind of one of the things I have a hard time with as a breeder, because, you know, I do want to help everybody, but sometimes, and I think it's the moments where you get 5 of those in a row in a matter of 3 days, and it's like, you know, it's like, well, I just spent an hour and a half answering this lady who I don't know from Adam, you know, and it's, you know, that's kind of where I start to reel it in, and that's kind of where I'm like, you know, I you know, I only have so many hours in a day, and there's only so many things I can do, you know. You know, and of course now we're reopening that door, and I've had several, since we started the podcast, I've had several people who, you know, obviously don't have my puppies. You know, they're emailing me with, again, you know, several questions and stuff like that, because they're realizing, you know, hey, maybe she knows what she's talking about, or maybe, you know, at the least, maybe she can give me some ideas or something, which, you know, I love it and hate it at the same time. It's like, you know, but I mean, that's just kind of where we're at now. This is, you know, we're putting this information out there for everybody. So, you know, I'll deal with it as best as I can, you know, and I have been, you know, it's been a long time since I've told people. And I think a lot of it is too, is the way people come at me, you know, I give the same energy I get. If I get any kind of weirdness or something, if I can tell you're playing me or something like that,
or you're leaving something out.
So yeah, sometimes, you know, I just shut people down because, you know, of that. And, you know, sometimes I'm wrong. I mean, I've you know, I'm not going to admit I don't make mistakes, because I absolutely do, probably too often. You know, I trust too good, you know, I trust too much a lot, and that gets you in weird situations sometimes. But yeah, I think we've kind of gone over a lot of the stuff that that goes on in a day, and it's never ending, it's like every day, you'll come stick your head in the door and be like, so-and-so's bleeding all over, she broke a toenail. It's like, oh crap,
Right.
All right, well, let me make a phone call. I'll tell them I'm on my way. And here we go. It's 45 minutes to the vet, 45 minutes back. And who knows, they're fitting me in. So I might be there for 3 hours. You have to deal with those things. It's the middle of the night. Mama needs, that wasn't that long ago. It was right before, right before my surgery. The night of my surgery.
Yeah.
I'm having surgery at 9 a.m. for my hip replacement. At 2 a.m., I'm down in Huntsville with a mama needing a C-section. I was up, oh my gosh, I was up 5 a.m. that day. So 28 hours straight. And I'm
going in
for hip surgery with zero sleep, and that's just what I do.
I'm just gonna say maybe that's why it's taking longer to heal.
You think? Oh my gosh. Well, I went back to work. I know my doctor yelled at me. I went back to work. I mean, I had my kennel. I had my husband home for 2 weeks. He took 2 weeks vacation, and after that it was me and all me. I shouldn't say all me, because it's not. I have Melanie and I have Josh, and those, you guys got me through that, but I still, I take so much on myself no matter what. Yeah. I'm out there popping pain pills and crying, trying to bend over and pick up things, and it's like maybe another pain pill will help something, but I just push and push and push. That's just, even now, I mean, this, if I didn't have this drive, I could never do this. I mean, think about it. Who would want to, number one, I mean, you've got to, I don't want to say I'm a workaholic, because this weekend was a perfect example. So John's doing deliveries. So Saturday he's doing a car delivery. He had to meet somebody in North Carolina at like 11 a.m., which means we're up at 4 a.m. He's leaving at 5 a.m. So I'm up at 4 a.m. making the coffee, getting everything ready, getting the puppy. Of course, I bathed the puppy the night before and separated it so it'd stay clean. I'm out there grooming and doing all the final touches on the puppy, getting the carrier ready, getting the bags ready, getting all his stuff together. So, he's leaving at 5 a.m. I'm not going back to sleep. What am I going to do? Sleep for 40 minutes? No. I'm going to go sit and I'm going to do some editing on my podcast, and then I go put the dogs out and go feed the cows and do all. Next thing I know, it's 8:30 and we're doing reverse. Put everybody back, so you don't get that break, you're up an extra hour, you're just working. So then, we're still, I'm still up till 9:30 that night. And then, John's got to do a delivery to Houston Sunday morning, which means he's got to get up at 3 a.m. this time to catch his flight. He's up at 3 a.m. We're out the door. He's out the door at 4 a.m. I'm like, 4 a.m., I could probably get 2 hours sleep, but am I? I'm going to lay down. I'm going to be tossing and turning. This is what I'm thinking, If I fall asleep by 5 o'clock, I got to turn around and get up at 6 o'clock. So what do? Go to the computer. I'm doing some more editing on podcast. I'm doing some paperwork. I'm getting everything organized. So now I'm up at 3 a.m., and my day's going to be, till whenever. I think we went to bed at 9:30 last night. We ended up, it was... Well, Easter Sunday, we went out for Mexican. I was like, nice. I'm not cooking. Like, I'm just not. I'm exhausted, You got all this other stuff going on, and it's it's going to be the same thing next weekend,
That's 3 nights in a row, because I have a delivery tomorrow.
That's right. I'm going to be up with you. And
I'll be here by 3.
3, yeah. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, and that's just my life. I mean, it comes in waves. That's the funny thing about it. It just comes in waves. It seems like sometimes it's like, oh my God, you're just dragging ass till the end of the week. And it's like, smacks you upside the head. And it's like, do it again.
Right. Congratulations. You have deliveries this weekend.
Right.
You have to be up even earlier.
Right.
Yeah.
So, again, that's just kind of, for people, if you're contacting me and it takes, and it used to be, if I got an email like, I would check my phone every hour. If I had a new email, I would answer it within the hour. That was one of my things with that's my customer service. That's the level that I want. But now I'm to the point where it's not going to hurt if I do it tomorrow morning. It's not going to be the end of the world. But, so I've got a little bit lax on some things just because I have so many other things going on. You just got to prioritize. And, there's certain things that are a little bit more laid back now because I just can't get to it. I just can't answer your email. Leave a voicemail because I can't answer the phone. It's things like that. At this level where, you have to make those compromises, you have to make those choices. But yeah, so that's just kind of a glimpse of what goes on in my life. It's just been crazy ride. But I love it. I can't imagine. Again, it's the passion behind it. I love what I do. And I it's kind of funny because the days that I really, you get down, everybody goes through this. Everybody has stress and anxiety about their life. What am I doing? Is this right? Is this wrong? Am I good at this? I don't know. Should I keep, you have all those things going. And some days it's heavier than others. Some days just get real heavy for me mentally. Especially, I always, people who are negative or they write a negative comment and it just kind of hits you like, maybe I should just say screw it, but then, it's funny because, on those days, the days that are really hard and heavy, I go over and I sit on that computer and I pull up my Google reviews.
There you go. As you should.
And right? Yeah. And this has been this is really what's kept me going over the years. I'll sit down and I may just scroll and just randomly read 1, 2, 3, depending on, some of them are pretty long, so sometimes it's just one and it's like, oh, okay, check. That's why I do it. This is why I do it. I love that person, I'm going to call her tomorrow, that kind of thing. I just need to reconnect or whatever. So, I kind of hope everybody has something like that when you're feeling, I don't want to say unworthy or worthless or whatever, but, just those days that are heavy, that are like, man, today fucking sucked, everybody needs that boost, and I have so much of it and I'm so thankful. I can, go talk to you. I can do all these different things that snap me out of it and make me realize I have a purpose and this is my purpose. And, like me or hate me, I don't care either way. I hope you like me, but, if you don't, that's cool too. Cause I've had plenty of them, and I'm sure if I made an effort to get to know you, I'd probably be saying snarky things too. So we probably just wouldn't get along. So it's all good. I had somebody the other day post, well, you don't know the breed standard. I was thinking about buying a puppy from you, but now I'm not. I'm like, oh my freaking God, are you kidding me? Like, you're going to sit there and tell me I don't know the breed standard? Like, I could recite it probably inside out. Yeah, I know the white ones aren't breed standard. I know they're a flaw. I know. You think I don't know?
They're gorgeous. Mind your business.
Right. And but to write something like that, it's like, I want to, if that's your mentality, I don't want to work with you either. So it's all good. Again, destiny.
Right.
You've showed your colors. I wouldn't want to work with somebody that ignorant. If you really think I've been a breeder of caissons for 20 years and don't know the breed standard, yeah, walk away, please do. And I'm
have the day you deserve.
Yes, have a wonderful day. And I know I say that snarky and everything because I am being snarky. I hate when people come at me snarky because there's no reason for that. If you think that, pick up the phone and freaking call me. Hey, what's the breed standard? Do you know what you're doing? Ask, why are you doing what you're doing? I'll tell you one thing, I'm not going to lie to you about my health testing. Like so many, I got on AKC again, that same breeder, same freaking breeder, another new litter. She has litter every month she's posted. Volume breeder, oh my God, red alert. It's the same thing. She's doing the same thing, but she's freaking both the parents. One doesn't have elbows and one doesn't have eyes. They have hips. You know what that means. What do we do when we go for hips and elbows? You're sedated. You do them both at the same time. You turn them in at the same time. If you see a hip and no elbows, elbows failed. Elbows failed. So she bred that dog, bad elbows. The other one never did an eye, or she didn't turn it in. And it's like, at least I'm not lying to people. I gotta, props on that, because, man, again, y'all are being lied to by so many breeders. Just flat out lied to, being misled and lied to. So yeah, my kennel does not do that to a fault. I'll tell you. Well, my dogs wouldn't be that's not an option. If my dogs fail, they fail. They get altered and they go into pet home. How many times have you seen it? I mean, I import dogs. When you import a dog, you're talking thousands. I mean, it ain't cheap. It ain't cheap. Just transportation now is $3,000. And that doesn't include your CDC vet, so, again, for all the haters out there, I think I'm doing okay.
Yeah. You're doing pretty good.
When you look around, it's like, that's what I got to compete with that. Like, done. I will take it. I will compete because, whatever. But anyway, so yeah, if anybody's thinking about doing this, be it any breed, it's a lot. So, it's a whole lot, and it's every day, forever. What is that, SpongeBob? Forever. It's like, yeah. So yeah, I hope some of y'all found this enlightening, funny, whatever.
Let us know. Leave us some comments. Let us know what you guys are thinking of the podcast.
Yeah.
If you
have a questions,
man,
put it in the comments. Let us know. If you have a specific question about breeding or anything that I've talked about.
If you have any topic ideas, please, by all means.
Always, yes. We need those topic ideas because we didn't think this through very well. Of course, another day I woke up, oh crap, podcast today. What are we gonna talk about? But what are we, an hour and 11 minutes?
Right?
Yeah. We did good. I guess we have the gift of gab.
We can talk.
That we can do. So hopefully y'all enjoy it. But was there anything else we need to add? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Day in the life of a breeder is having an amazing groomer to share your life with, because the dogs love her. We love her. I didn't know what I was missing. It's, again, destiny, like the fact that we've been brought together, under not the best of circumstances. And for me, wrapping up the last groomer was, really hard. So many things came out, and I found so many things happening that I didn't know. And again, my own ignorance. You talk about epic fails in life choices. That was a big one. I let so many things slide and didn't really pay attention because, you trust somebody at a certain point, and it's like, so yeah, that's, you have to have a good groomer. And of course,
I love these dogs.
We know.
Probably more than.
And how can you not? I mean, you said it yourself. You never knew these dogs, and now it's like, oh my God, they're like the perfect dog.
They are. They're so fun.
Middle of the road. They fit in every life. They fit. They're just.
And you have, you've got your stubborn ones, and you've got your more mouthy, bitchy ones.
Yep.
There's just a couple that it's.
There's a couple.
There's a couple that I'm gonna
steal.
I would fight people for. So
Melanie's got a list.
I
so
do.
All you people waiting for retirees, good luck. Melanie's got a list. She's already cornered me down. It's funny because I've always, for years and years, my males don't go to homes typically with other dogs. But if there is a dog, it has to be a female. That's just me. And Melanie's like, I want Kavik. I'm like, oh Jesus. I guess we're gonna have to. I'm not saying anything right now, but yeah, she's plugging for Kavik so bad, and it's like he's such a nut.
You're
He's
not supposed to say that on here. My husband's gonna listen.
Oh no, she can't have him. No, she can't have Kavik. Oh, you know that'll last like a second.
Yeah.
You get him over here. We're gonna have bonfire night, and he's gonna be like, when does he retire?
Right.
But you do that with a lot of the dogs, not all of them, because there's a couple of you would be like, nope,
no thanks.
The leaners and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, just some, I don't know. I try to keep these somewhat informative. I don't know, and I think just talking to clients, they ask me so many questions, like they're just intrigued about what I do. Mm-hmm. So this was, and props to Melanie for this idea. I had a different idea. Well, maybe we'll do it another day. But she was in, well, let's just do a day in the life. I'm like, oh, good one. So yeah, we're just kind of both struggling to keep these podcasts going, and we're on episode 14. Like we're barely, into this. We are trying to get ahead in case, a lot of these we're doing 2-3 weeks in advance. But just because of our schedules are insane, so we're trying to squish them in whenever we can. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this a little bit. I think, maybe it was interesting and to know what really, there's so much. So if you're thinking about getting into breeding, I think the best thing, if you have a passion for your breed, be it Keeshonds or whatever you're doing, just kind of start slow and work into it.
Start small and
really
grow as you learn. Mm-hmm. Don't learn by growing.
Yeah.
Grow as you
have to keep growing.
Learn and then grow.
That's
okay. This is how we do this better.
Yeah.
I can add a couple more dogs. Okay. You know.
And that's exactly how I've done it. I just it's important to me to always try to be better, no matter as a person, as everything, and I just keep learning and growing. Of course, this is going to be my limit here. I don't know that 19 dogs will always be my cutoff as far as we're in Tennessee. But yeah, it's been a fun ride. It's been interesting, and I hope some of you guys have enjoyed this. I actually got a couple different little positive feedback on the story time, so I thought we'd kind of go with, it's not really the same, but it's kind of been just a story. I don't know, whatever. I thought this was a good follow-up to story time, but yeah, so I guess we'll just kind of, wrap it up for today. We're over an hour again because we don't shut up, apparently. But as always, I want to thank everybody for your continued support, man. I get so many random things, whether it's just a like or a comment or something like that. It just, as long as somebody's always getting something out of these podcasts, we'll keep doing it. Again, hit those like, follow, subscribe buttons. That's kind of, we're pushing that hard, especially for YouTube. I'm trying to get that going. If you can be sure and check out my YouTube channel, it's Erbekees-Keeshonden. Go over there and just subscribe. I'm going to start, and this week I'm going to start posting bonus puppy videos on YouTube only. So please subscribe. Subscribe on YouTube, so you see those random puppy videos. They won't be anywhere else. They won't be on Facebook or anything like that. Again, if any of you would like more detail of any of our discussion today, please post your questions, comment on my Facebook page. If you like it, just send a comment. Hey, that was good. I enjoyed that point. One comment. What was one thing out of this podcast that you enjoyed? What is one thing that you'd like to hear in another podcast? Please put those comments in there so we can keep growing with this and keep coming up with ideas. So again, comment on all those, wherever you're at, wherever you're seeing this. I do go back once a week and I do check like Spotify and Apple Podcasts and look for comments and stuff. So get those comments out there for us, and thanks for listening, and I guess we'll see y'all next time.
Bye guys.